Hello, another Bible study. Pastor Mark from the Word of Life Fellowship Church in Omaha, Nebraska. It is a cold day here in November, 16th of November, and it's cold. A little bit of a dusting of snow actually last night, at least here at my house. Excuse me. Those of you who know, I've been having some issues with my eye. So forgive me for rubbing it or blinking oddly. I'm not winking at you. Sorry, that's a bad joke. Anyway, I'm going to dive right into the Bible study today, and I'll start the Bible study talking about holy days. As a Christian, to me, that means Christmas and Easter. We celebrate the birth of Christ, even though it's not his actual birth date. It might be a shock to some of you. Christmas is celebrated in the Western world, typically, as December the 25th. The countries that, such as Russia and some others that have Orthodox Christian faith, they celebrate it in a different month. I think it's January. If you ask many preachers, they'll all have their own opinion as to when we think Christ was born. It apparently wasn't important to the Lord to have us know the actual day that Christ was born. However, we do know the day that he rose from the dead. That's Easter. That's the day we celebrate. That's the first day of the week after Passover. So you have to follow the Jewish holy days. You get to Passover, and the next first day of the week, that's Easter. So anyway, holy days. As Christians, primarily, it's Christmas and Easter. Now the word holiday is kind of a spin-off of the words holy days. And so holidays in today's busy world are often viewed in many ways, and often by most people, I think, just as a day off. An opportunity to get together with friends, family, enjoy some relaxation time, maybe to sleep in. If for your job you have to get up really early, there's a day you can just kind of sleep in a little bit. For the record, I personally love spending time with family and friends on holidays. I don't mind sleeping in a little bit either. However, that's not really the point of those days. Now, the marketing departments in some industries are trying to turn some days into holidays. Valentine's Day, for example, my son refers to that day as Single Awareness Day. If you don't have a sweetheart, you know painfully that you are all alone on Valentine's Day. Having Halloween is another one. Mother's Day, Father's Day, just to name a few. These are days that are observed for a particular reason, whether it's love of candy or respect for mothers or fathers. These particular days are not truly a holiday in the true sense of the word, but feel free to celebrate if you want to. Some of the holy days as listed in the Bible, for example, I mentioned Passover already, the Day of Atonement, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of First Fruits, etc. These were days that God had set apart for holy convocations, special assembly times to assemble together before the Lord and remember the goodness and holiness of God, for example. Others were for sacrifice, atoning for sin. As a Gentile believer, we are not required to keep the Old Testament holy days. We understand that Christ has fulfilled many of them, however, and although we are awaiting anxiously and with anticipation for his fulfillment of the Feast of Trumpets, for example, when he returns to gather the church to himself. We find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 52, and in 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 16 through 17. Also, at the end of the 70th week of Daniel, when he rescues and saves Israel from utter destruction, most modern Christianity, we refer to that time as the Great Tribulation time period. He will fulfill at that time the Feast of Tabernacles and will dwell with men. Wow. You can read that in Zechariah chapter 14, verse 16. Now those are some special days and absolutely worth celebrating. In the last few weeks, I should say not so much few weeks, back in the month of September in particular, there was a national day of something, not every single day, but it sure seemed like a lot. There's a donut day, there's all kinds of days. There's some calendars you can pull up on the internet, and virtually every day of the month is something. Love your cat day, whatever. Take your grandma to lunch day. That's not a bad idea. Having said that, the holiday, Thanksgiving, is coming up soon. Now, I know it's not this week. This Bible study probably would be best the day before Thanksgiving. Well, I'm going to ask you to remember it next week. But the holiday Thanksgiving, as we celebrate it here in the United States, is coming up next week, and it's one of my personal favorites. Now, in the Bible, we see that being thankful is a good thing. Psalm 100, verse 4. I quote from the New King James Version, "Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and into his courts with praise. Be thankful to him, and bless his name." End quote. Be thankful to him, being thankful to God. Colossians chapter 3, verse 15 in the New Testament, I quote, "And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which also you were called in one body, and be thankful." End quote. And be thankful. Being thankful to God. We all ought to be thankful. He's given us breath. He's given us life. He's so good, so kind. Even in bad times, God is still good. In 1789, the United States Congress passed a resolution asking the president to recommend to the nation a day of Thanksgiving. President George Washington issued a proclamation naming Thursday, November 26, 1789, as a day of public thanksgiving. This was the first time Thanksgiving was celebrated under the new Constitution. Subsequent presidents issued Thanksgiving proclamations as well, but the dates and even the months of the celebrations varied. It wasn't until President Abraham Lincoln's 1863 proclamation, or was it 1864? Anyway, one of those years, that Thanksgiving was regularly commemorated each year on the last Thursday of November. Yeah. In the 118th presidential proclamation, Abraham Lincoln proclaimed the last Thursday in November to be a national day of Thanksgiving. And I'm going to quote a few sentences from that proclamation. You can look it up. 118th presidential proclamation, Abraham Lincoln, if you'd like to search for that. This is way down in the proclamation. "Now, therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, do hereby appoint and set apart the last Thursday in November next as a day which I desire to be observed by all my fellow citizens, wherever they may then be, as a day of thanksgiving and praise to Almighty God, the beneficent Creator and ruler of the universe. This proclamation was so that we would give thanksgiving and praise to the Lord. And he gives God the glory as creator and ruler of the universe, specifically for thanks to God. And he goes on, and if you read that proclamation, you'll find that he was thankful for the Lord bringing our country through one more year of what was then a very, very dark time in our nation's history. We were embroiled in the Civil War, and it was no joke. And there was no certainty that our country would come out of it intact. From that time, Abraham Lincoln's proclamation, from that time until 1939, when President Franklin Roosevelt changed the date, our country celebrated Thanksgiving on the last Thursday of November, whatever date that would have been. But President Roosevelt moved it to the third Thursday in November. In 1939, I'm quoting, the last Thursday in November fell on the last day of the month. This was something I researched, so I'm quoting it. Concerned that the shortened Christmas shopping season might dampen the economic recovery, which was then happening at the end, this is at the end of the Depression era, President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued a presidential proclamation moving Thanksgiving to the second to last Thursday of November. So the second to the last Thursday of November. That's why he moved it, hoping to get another weekend on the Christmas shopping season. That's a little insightful. Today, people start shopping at all times of the year for Christmas. Back then, Christmas shopping season began after Thanksgiving. Being thankful and expressing our thanks to God is a very, very important thing. Now, we read a couple of verses from Psalm and from Colossians to that effect, but it's truly an important thing. We are, as Christians, to be thankful. So, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, the holiday, set apart some time to give thanks to God for his blessings and his goodness. I've heard recently some people saying that they don't even know what Thanksgiving is about and they don't like Thanksgiving and so forth and so on. I don't believe that they meant they don't like being thankful. They didn't understand the reason for the holiday. Hopefully, you understand a little more about what the holiday is supposed to be for, to set aside time to give thanks to God, the creator and ruler of the universe, for his blessings, his goodness, his kindness to us, not only as individuals, but to our nation. So set aside some time to give thanks to God for his blessings and goodness this week. Yes, we are living in uncertain times, but God is still good. He's still good, and he's still deserving of our thanks. Let's give him the glory and the thanks that he deserves, not only this week and on Thanksgiving Day, but every day. Well, God bless you. I hope that this short Bible study has been helpful and blessing to you. We'll hope to see you this Sunday, 10:30 at the Hilton TRU, T-R-U, 10:30. We're in the main conference room, big conference room on the main first floor. God bless you. Have a great day.